So these are the content which we are going to cover in this particular video. Hey guys, most welcome to eCivil Tech. I hope you people are doing very well, and after a long time we are meeting on this series. This is the 5th video on design of 15-meter high ground-based square telecom tower. In this particular video, we will learn connection design of bracings of telecom tower. So these are the topics which we had covered until yet, and if you are watching this series for the first time, I will recommend you to watch all 4 videos of this series. You will learn basics of design, modeling on StatPro, dead load and wind load calculation, and complete analysis and design of telecom tower. Not only this, you will also learn about the Indian codes including IS 875, IS 800-2007 and others. These videos are crafted in such a beautiful and simple way that even a college student can understand it. If you have any doubt, you can put it on comment box. We will be happy to solve your doubts. In this video, we will learn to calculate the bracing connection design, and the connection will be bolt design. In this structure, there will be weld connection also, but we will skip that weld connection design. We will do only bolt connection design because I want to make a complete fundamental series on the weld connection as I have done for the bolt connection. For the bolt connection, you can visit this series. In this series, you can learn basics about the bolts and how you can design a bolt for shear and tension. That also you can learn from this series. So I will recommend you to watch this series also. So let's start the video. So these are the content of this video. First we will understand local axis and the global axis on StatPro. This concept is required to understand the force direction on the member. So in which direction the force is coming, that we can understand by understanding the local axis and the global axis. Then we will learn understanding first order and the second order analysis. So I will explain in later part of this video why I have included this topic in this video. Then we will understand sway and non-sway frame. Then we will understand how to get the forces which are coming on the member in the StatPro. And after that, we will learn how to calculate the total shear force coming on the bolt from the member. So this we will learn in this topic. And finally, we will learn to design a connection, bolt connection using IS 800-2007 on the Excel sheets. So these are the content which we are going to cover in this particular video. So before jumping to local axis and global axis, let's visit our website and download the content which we had made in the previous video of this series. I will go to browser and I will type www.eciviltech.com, hit enter button. So this is our website, www.eciviltech.com. Go to learn button and click on this steel structure design. Now I will scroll down to the bottom part of the website, and here you can see download supporting files of lecture 4. So click over here and I will choose desktop over here, okay, and save it on desktop. So you can see the file has been downloaded now. Now I can minimize it. Now you can see this folder has been downloaded. Now I can right click on this. I will choose extract files here. Now this L4P1, you can see this is extracted file. Now I will enter this folder. I will make a new folder over here. I will give the name stat file, and I will move this 15-meter high ground tower stat file on this folder. Let's get into this folder. Now double click on this file to start the stat. Now you can see this beautiful model or 15-meter high ground based tower. Here at the bottom corner you can see the 3D coordinate axis. Okay, Y is the vertical axis, X and Z are in plan. These are two horizontal axes. These coordinates are called as global axis. So this is the coordinate which stat follows. Y is vertical axis and X and Z are in plan. Now hold shift button on your keyboard and press O. Now you can see these are the local axis of every individual member. Okay, now it is completely mess. You are not able to see clearly. So what I will do is I will make visible only the back panel. To do that, I will go to view, okay, and I will choose top view. Scroll down to zoom out. I will select the back panel only Then I will click on isometric view, then click on show selected object. Okay, now you can see only the selected object are visible. Don't worry, nothing is deleted, only we are hiding the front panel to understand it more easily. Okay, now holding shift button I will press I. You can see over here that 3 arrows are visible now. It is origin. Now you can see the origin XYZ over here, and now I will hide this support because this support is hindering the visibility of the origin. To hide the support I will press S holding shift button, shift S. Now you can see the support is hidden. It is actually there, but it is just not visible, so that we can easily see our this origin. Now here you can see X axis is in blue color, Y axis is in red color, and Z axis is in green color. Now look at this member. This X axis is along the member, along the axis of the member. Here also you can see for this member, this blue arrow is along the axis. Here also you can see this blue arrow is along the axis of the member. It is along the length of the member. So these are the local axis of each and every individual member. So what's the benefit of this local axis? These are the two benefits. One, you can apply the load in the direction of the local axis. Second, you can check the forces coming on the member in the direction of the local axis. Let me explain you this. Now look at this member, this vertical member. If I want to apply a load, horizontal load, then I can use two methods. One, I can use global axis, other I can use the local axis. Now let me show you. I will go to the loading, here loading. Let me zoom by scrolling up. I will apply a temporary load, and later I will delete that load. I am just showing you. Now here I will choose this self weight for the time being. Here I will click add, and now I will come to member load. Okay, member load, and here I will choose concentrated force. Now let me choose a load of 5 kilonewton. I will type 5 kilonewton over here. Now I will choose global X axis over here. Okay, and I will say add. I will close it. Okay, now let me apply this load on this member. I will select, use cursor to assign. No, I will choose assign to selected beam and assign. Yes, now you can see this load is assigned in global X direction. Now let me apply the same load on this member also, on this inclined member also. Okay, and I will choose assign to selected beam. See here, this particular load is assigned on this member and this member. Now you can see both the loads are in horizontal direction. Now what if I want to apply a load along the axis of selected diagonal member? Then it is not possible using any global axis, as the axis of this member is not along any of the global axis. So we can apply load along the axis of the member by using local axis of the member. Let me show you how you can do it. Double click on this load which we have applied. Now here we can see we had applied global axis, that we have to change to X global axis, because this blue arrow is showing the axis along the length of the member. So we want to apply the load along the axis of this member. So we have chosen this X local, and now change. Here we will click on change. Now we can see the direction of the load is changed along the axis of this member. So this was not possible using any of these global axis. I can show you. If I will choose this GY, then it is in the vertical direction. If I am choosing GX, it is in this Z direction, and if I am choosing X, then it is in X direction. But none of this global axis is along the axis of this member. So if I want to apply a load along the axis of this member, then I will have to choose this X local axis. Similarly, we can use this local Y axis and Z axis to apply a load along the perpendicular direction of the member. Okay, so this is the local axis. This is the benefit of the local axis while applying the load on the member. I will close this. Similarly, after analysis, the software will give us how much load is coming on each and every member. So for this member, if software is giving load coming on this member in the direction of global axis, then it will be useless for us. We cannot design any member having loads in the global axis. So whatever the stresses, whatever the forces coming on the member, it should be in the direction of its member, so that we can easily design it, either compressive force, either tensile force, it should be in the direction of this member. So while taking the output from the software, it should be in the direction of the member. So again, here the local axis will be beneficial for us. So these are the two benefits of the local axis and the global axis. Let me delete this because this is not required. Okay, now you can see the loads are not there. Now I will again click Shift O to hide the local axis directions. Now I will click Shift S to show the supports. Okay, now I will again go to our slides. Just to give you more clarity, this is STAAD global axis, Y is vertical, XY is in plane, and in STAAD we can choose our vertical axis as Y or as Z. When you choose global axis as Y direction, then your local axis, X axis will be along the member and Y will be along the major axis and Z will be along the minor axis. Similarly, when you choose Z up, your X axis will be along the member, Z axis will be along the major axis and Y axis will be along the minor axis. And as per our IS code, X axis will be along the axis of the member, Y axis will be major axis and Z axis will be minor axis. So you can see when we keep Y up, the local axis representation of IS 800 and STAAD Pro are same. So I recommend to keep Y up only, and by default in STAAD Pro the Y will be up, but you can make Z up in the STAAD Pro, but it is not required. So this is all about the local axis and global axis. Now let's move forward. Again I will go to view. I will click on display whole structure. Now I will analyze this structure. To analyze, I will go to analyze and design, and we will go to run analysis. Save. See, we have analyzed our structure, but now we can see one warning is over here. I don't exactly remember that last time we had seen such kind of warning. It is new thing we are seeing over here. So what I will do is I will click on view output file over here. Okay, and I will click on done just to check what warning is showing. So here we can see warning. I will double click on this. Let me zoom a little bit. Okay, warning: the value of moment amplification factor Ky or Kz is greater than 1.4 for member 144. For load case 203, second order elastic analysis must be performed as per section 442 of IS 800-2007. Also ensure that the type of combination used is repeat load or reference load instead of load combination syntax, except for the response spectrum load cases. Okay. Now first we have to find out this member 144, and then we'll have to look at load case 203. I will keep it aside. I need 144 member. So I will go to geometry. I will minimize this, and I need 144. Okay, this is the member, this 144, and so we'll have to look at IS code 800/2007 and clause number 4.4.2. So this 4.4.2 talks about the first order elastic analysis, and this warning is saying us to run second order elastic analysis. So let us first understand what is the difference in first order analysis and the second order analysis. Now let's understand first order analysis and the second order analysis. First order analysis is also called as linear analysis. In this type of analysis, we put all the loads at once and calculate the member stresses and the reaction. For example, look at this 20 meter high mast. Now let's assume one vertical downward load of 5 kN and a lateral load of 2 kN is acting at the tip of the mast. So if I will ask you to calculate the reaction by the linear elastic analysis, it will be like vertical reaction 5 kN for this vertical load, and lateral reaction 2 kN for the lateral load, and there will be one more reaction which is moment, which is due to the height, 20 meter height and 2 kN. load. So it will be 2 into 20, 40 kilonewton meter. And we are assuming that this mast is weightless for the simplicity of the analysis. And let us assume due to this lateral load there is a deflection of 0.1 meter. Now let's do the second order analysis of the same structure. Second order analysis is also called as P delta analysis or non-linear analysis. Basic difference is we do multiple runs of analysis on the same structure in the second order analysis, whereas in first order analysis we run the analysis for the one time only. Let me explain you how. Starting of the second order analysis will be same as the first order analysis. Now you can observe that tip of the mast has been shifted to 0.1 meter. Now due to this displacement additional moment will be generated. Let me explain you how. Now this is shifted to 0.1 meter we are assuming, then your 5 kilonewton load also will be shifted like this. This load will be shifted to here 5 kilonewton. Now there is a lever arm of 0.1 meter. Okay, there will be additional moment due to this displacement of the point. Now additional moment will be 40 kilonewton meter plus your load is 5 kilonewton into 0.1. It will be 40.5 kilonewton meter. I hope you are understanding this. See, additional moment will be generated due to this in this direction and its reaction will be in this direction. So this initial 40 kilonewton meter plus this 0.5 kilonewton meter will be added. So total moment coming on this member is 40.5 kilonewton meter, and this is the second run. Now we can run this multiple time because due to this additional moment 0.5 kilonewton meter there will be a little bit more deflection. Okay, but after 4 to 5 runs you will get the accurate result. Then the result will not change. The change in the result will be very negligible. So in first run you are getting 40 kilonewton meter, in second run you are getting 40.5 kilonewton meter, and third run you can get probably 40.56 or something, because due to this moment it will deflect a little bit more like 0.11 or something, but after 4 to 5 runs the change in the result will be negligible. So this is the second order analysis. The change in the result is not linear, that's why it is also called a non-linear analysis. This is also called as P delta analysis, as we are considering the change in the position, the displacement, the delta. That's why it is also called as P delta analysis, because we are considering the deflection, and in this analysis we are just calculating the deflection, but we are not considering any change in moment due to this deflection. That's why it is first order analysis, and this is second order analysis, which is also called as P delta analysis and nonlinear analysis. So this was the difference between the first order analysis and the second order analysis. Keep in mind that the second order analysis gives more practical and accurate result. You can see this, the difference in the first order analysis and second order analysis. First order analysis is called as linear analysis. Second order analysis is also called as P delta analysis or the non-linear analysis, and I have explained you why it is called so. First order analysis is fast because we run the model for one time only. Second order analysis is more accurate and more practical because we run the model multiple times. So this is the basic difference in the first order analysis and the second order analysis. So let's move ahead. Now let's come back to the code and try to understand what it is saying. It says, in first order elastic analysis, the equilibrium of the frame in undeformed geometry is considered. So it is clearly saying that undeformed geometry is considered. So deformation of the geometry is not going to be considered. The change in the geometry of the frame due to loading are not accounted for. So whatever there will be change in the frame, the geometry, that will not be accounted, and the changes in the effective stiffness of the member due to axial force are neglected. So it is actually the definition of the first order analysis which I have explained. Now second line is saying that you will have to calculate Cy and Cz according to clause number 4.4.3, and if it is more than 1.4, then you will have to run the second order analysis. As in the warning we can already see that it is more than 1.4. The clause, this warning itself is saying it is greater than 1.4. Okay, we will have to run the second order analysis as per annexure B, but we don't have to go for manual calculation as software can do it very easily. Okay, further Further, this code says for non-sway frames, you will have to check clause number 4.4.3.2, and for sway frame, you will have to check clause number 4.4.3.3. So if you want to run this model for second order analysis, you must have to understand what is sway frame and what is non-sway frame. And if you don't know exactly the differences in sway frame and non-sway frame, then let me explain you. Now let us understand the difference between sway frame and non-sway frame. Any frame which deflects or sway due to the lateral load is called the sway frames, and any frame which does not sway due to the lateral load are called as non-sway frame. To understand it, let us apply a lateral load on this frame. Due to this lateral load, the frame will deflect in this way, and let us assume this displacement is delta. Okay. So this is the sway frame, because due to the lateral load there is a change in the position of the top portion. Okay. Now look at this frame. We assume that length of this member is rigid, means length is not going to change axially, or it is negligible. Let's apply a lateral load on this point. Due to this load, the top portion of the frame will not displace, because this member is assumed to be rigid member. Since there will be no sway in this frame will be called as non-sway frame. Similarly, for this frame, this support will prevent the displacement due to lateral load. If I am applying any lateral load over here, so this support will prevent the displacement. Therefore, this is also an example of non-sway frame. I hope you are clear with sway frame and non-sway frame. In real practice, we can get this kind of support by using shear walls. Now, this understanding is very necessary to understand the behavior of the structure and also for the manual analysis. As our frame has diagonal member, we can assume it is a non-sway frame for the analysis. Now the code says for non-sway frames, refer 9.3.2.2. So let's move to 9.3.2.2. So 9.3.2.2 talks about bending and the axial compression. Member subjected to combined axial compression and the biaxial bending shall satisfy interaction relationship. So this is the formula. In this formula, C and K are the magnification factor. You can see this K and this C and this K are magnification factor. My and mz is actually moment coming on the member, but for our structure, the members are truss member, and as we know, in truss member only axial loads comes on the member and no bending moment. As my and mz are 0, this my and mz are 0, these two expressions will be 0. Therefore, let whatever be the factor come by the calculation, the magnification will be 0. So for our structure, I think we can ignore this warning. So as it is a bracing and it's a truss member, there won't be any moment on the member. Therefore, this clause is not applicable and we can ignore it. This warning is not applicable. I think we can ignore this warning. This is my opinion for this warning. If anyone have another, please let me know in the comment box. But definitely I will make a separate video where I will teach you how to get rid of this warning. Now let's move to the connection design finally. For the connection design, we have to first check how much load is coming on the member. First we will have to check the horizontal member. So after analysis, I will select all the horizontal bracings. So let's select all the bracing. To select all the bracing, I will go to view and I will choose this front view, and then I will select all horizontal bracings in this way. Once we are done with selecting the horizontal bracings, again I will come to perspective view just to check out whether all members which I have selected are correct or not. So I can see all the horizontal member has been selected. Now I will go to post processing, say OK, and in post processing I will go to results, here results, and then reports. Now I will select beam and forces. Now here I will choose sort by axial force, then click this, and I will choose only ultimate load because I want to design the bolt on ultimate loads only. So I will take these ultimate load combinations from 201 to 204 and click over here to select it and then say OK. Now this is a report which has been generated. Now we will open our Excel which we have downloaded. So this is the Excel file which we have downloaded. Now let's change this sheet name as design, and let's select this sheet and change its name as connection design. I will just add one more sheet by clicking on this plus sign. Now I will go to design and I will select all these cells from this cell to this cell, and Control C to select, and now come to connection design and Control V to paste. And here I will just select this one, keep source column width. By clicking on this control, we can open this doc, and in this doc I will click on this keep source column width. Okay, and also I will make these rows repeat. So what I will do is I will go to page layout and here print tiles, and then come to sheet and rows to repeat. So I will select these 4 rows and I say enter and OK. So these rows will be repeated. Okay. Now I will again move to our results. Okay. For some reason the results are not being visible. Again I will go to report and beam and forces, axial load, loading I will choose from 201 to 204 and say OK. So this is the thing. And we can see the maximum axial force is coming on the member number 203, and this is the member 203. Okay. Now here in report you can see it is sorted in axial load because we have chosen that. Okay. Now what I will do is I will click on beam here, and entire rows and columns will be selected. On keyboard I will click Ctrl C to copy, and then come to our Excel file which we have just opened, and here in sheet 1, and I will paste it over here. Okay, go to home and just create this thing, borders. Okay, now you can see this is the axial force. I can just wrap this to see. Okay, now you can see the axial force is 11.04 kilonewton it is coming, but there are 2 other loads in other direction, y direction and z direction. So let's come back to the model, and I just want to show you the local axis of it. So I will select the beam cursor and select it, this beam. Okay, if you don't know where is the beam cursor, then you can go to the select, and here you can choose the select beam. Okay, I can choose it from here because I have given some quick commands, and you can also add quick commands here by using this button. If you press this button, you can see all the commands will be visible in the left side, and quick customization command will be here. So you have to bring these commands to here to customize that option as per your requirement. And once you are done, you just have to go anywhere at the window and just press spacebar to open this. Okay, so I just want to select this. Now let's look its local axis. Okay, click Shift O, it is mesh again. Now what I am going to do is I will make visible only that member one. Okay, so what I am going to do is I will go to view and click on selected object only, visible selected object only. Now you can see this is the local axis. Now you can see this blue is the x-axis, along the x-axis, and the force which we have taken here we can see is along the x-axis. Okay, axial force. Here it is not showing x-axis, but it is along the x-axis. It is just saying axial force. Okay, now let's come back to model. Now this axial force is along the x-axis, and y and z are the perpendicular axis in 3D space. Now axial force is along the x-axis and y and z are perpendicular axis in 3D space. If it was an I section, then it would have been very easy to get the resultant. The resultant would have been square root of x square plus y square, the forces in x square and y square. Here we can use this formula directly as the other direction y and z are parallel to its faces. But for angle section, other 2 axes are not parallel to the faces. So it will be confusing to go with y axis or z axis in the formula. So for the sake of simplicity, as forces in y and z direction are very small compared to the forces in x direction, I take the maximum force of y and z axis. So the revised formula will be resultant is equal to square root of s square plus maximum of forces in the z or y direction, and we will square that. So this is the formula which I am going to use. So let's do it in Excel. What I am going to do is I will type resultant shear kilonewton. Okay. I will type formula is equal to square root of axial load square plus max of, I am taking both of and give square. So the software will check which is the maximum, and that maximum will be taken here and it will square that. So this is the resultant 11.04. So you can see for this particular structure the other direction loads are very small, so the change in the resultant is approximately negligible, but still we will consider this. Now to apply the same formula to all rows, I will double click on this square. You can see at the bottom right side a small square, double click on that. Now select this cell, holding Ctrl and Shift button, click on down arrow to select all the rows in that column, and now click on this all borders, so it will give the border. Again I will click on this cell, holding Ctrl and Shift button, I will click on down arrow button to select all the columns, and I will then click on these buttons. Okay, so now it is rounding off to 2 digits. Now I will select all the upper row and come to sort and filter, and then click on filter. Now I will apply a filter. I want maximum, so I will click on sort the largest to smallest. Okay, so now the topmost row is not changing actually, so this is the actually maximum load. So what I am going to do is I will copy this, Ctrl C, and come to the connection design and paste it over here. Let me add one row. Select here, Ctrl plus to add one row, member load from STAAD report, Ctrl B to make it bold, and here I will write design of horizontal bracing connection. Ctrl B for bold, Ctrl U for underline. Okay, now let's make calculation on this Excel sheet using IS 800 2007. Max shear force coming on bolt, I will say this much kilonewton. Okay, I have taken this one, resultant one. Okay, not the axial, because for many cases your resultant will be more, and I will stretch this a little bit. Okay, and I will come to this page break preview, and here you can see a dotted line. Now after clicking on this page break, I will drag it over here. Now come back to this view. Okay, so kilonewton. Now let's for time being we will assume diameter of bolt as 16 mm, dia of hole for 16 mm it will be plus 1.5 mm. You can refer IS 800 for hole dia. Now bolt grade we will assume 4.6. so ultimate tensile strength of the bolt Fu will be, now we know that as it is a 4.6 grade, ultimate stress will be 400. So I am going to use a small formula. I will use floor comma 1 and I will apply it by 100 megapascal. Yield stress of bolt is equal to Fy is equal to, this will be 60% of 400. So what we are going to do is we are going to do is 400 multiplied by 0.6. So for 0.6, what we are going to do is start the bracket, this minus floor of this comma 1. Now after giving this formula, we can directly change the grade and the values will change directly. Okay, so we are assuming 4.6, so it is changing accordingly. Now how this formula is working, G17 is this cell 400 multiplied by, and this entire formula is giving value 0.6. How it is giving 0.6? We are first taking this 4.6, G16 is actually 4.6 minus floor of this 4.6. So what is it going? Floor is going to give the complete whole value at the lower side. So 4.6, the whole value at the lower side will be 4. So it is giving 240 megapascal. Now minimum plate thickness for connection. See, we are going to connect two plates with the help of the bolt. So minimum will be, just come to the software and click on this in view display whole structure. Shift O to remove, hide the arrows. Double click on this horizontal member and you can see we have used 65, 65, 5. Okay. So what we are going to do is this horizontal member is going to be connected with the pipe section, this vertical member. So we will weld one plate over here to the pipe, and that plate will be connected with this member with the help of bolt. So if you are giving a plate over here to connect this section and that plate thickness is assume 6 mm and here the member section is 5 mm. So we will choose the minimum one, which is 5 mm. Now the plate thickness for the connection is 5 mm, 65, 65, 5 mm angle. Okay. Ultimate stress of plate. So we should know which grade of plate is that. FU of plate is 410 megapascal. So our ultimate stress of that member plate is 410 megapascal. So I will make it here FUB so that we can identify which is for bolt and which is for plate. Okay. Now end distance. Edge distance is the distance between center of the bolt to the edge of the member in the direction of the load. So edge distance E is equal to, edge distance will be 1.5 times of bolt hole dia. Okay. This is as per IS 800 clause number 10.2.4.2. So it is coming 26.25, but what we are going to do is we will take an approximate value but the higher one. So what I am going to do is I will apply a formula, ceiling comma 5. So it will be give the values in the multiple of 5. Now pitch distance is the center to center distance of the bolts. As per IS code, it is 2.5 times of dia of your bolt. So it is coming 40. Here also we will use same formula, but this value is not going to change because it is coming exactly 40. So what I am going to do is I will apply formula ceiling comma 5. The value will come in the multiple of 5. See, it is not changing because it is already in multiple of 5. But in this design, I think single bolt will be sufficient. So this pitch distance will not be required. If you have any doubt regarding any term like end distance, pitch distance, or what is the bolt grade, then I have prepared complete set of videos where I have taught you how to design bolt connection. If you are having any doubt, conceptual doubt in this particular design, then you can watch this series. One more thing I would like to add here, I will select this row and click +2 time holding control button to add 2 rows. Gross area of bolt ASB. So area will be pi by 4 into 16 square. So it is coming 201 square mm. And then net area A and B is equal to into 0.7. Net area is 78% of gross area. So square mm. Okay. Now let's come back to IS code to look what formula they are using. Chapter number 10. So this is the formula. Shear capacity of bolt is equal to Fu divided by square root of 3. So our Fu is 400 divided by SQRT. Here Fu is actually Fu of bolt, not plate. So don't be confused. Square root of 3 into Nn is number of planes in that threaded area. So we will consider it 1 into A and B is the net area. And we assume that there is no plane coming in the shaft plane. NS is the plane in the shaft and ASB is the shaft area. So 0 into shaft area is your 201. And again by this you are going to get V NSB, nominal shear capacity. Then again you will have to divide it by gamma MB. Gamma MB you will get in table number 5 of IS 800 and gamma MB comes to be 1.25. This value is coming in Newton because our stresses are Newton per mm square, that is megapascal, and area is square mm. That's why it is giving the value is Newton. So what I am going to do is I will click F2 or double click on this and we will divide by 1000 to get the value in kilonewton. So the bolt's value in shear force, it is coming 28.97 kilonewton. Now we will have to check the value of bolt in bearing also. So for bearings, code is using this formula. Now for the bearing capacity, we will have to first calculate the value of Kb. So Kb is minimum of E by 3d0, P by 3d0 minus 0.25, FUB by FU or 1. So Kb is equal to, there are 4 terms in this formula. So what I am going to do is I will make it separate so it will be easy for you to understand. First we will E by 3d0. E is the S distance, E is N distance, it is 30 mm. 30 divided by 3, then we will have to keep this in bracket, otherwise it will multiply, into d0 is the whole dia. So first term is coming 0.57, second term is pitch distance minus 3d0. Pitch distance is 40 mm divided by 3 into d0. d0 is your whole dia minus 0.25. So it is coming 0.511. Then FUB divided by FU. So your FUB is actually this bolt stress 400 divided by 410. So it is coming 0.9 and then finally 1. So what I am going to do is I will use this minimum of all force. I can do this, but I want to make it in one row. So what I am going to do is I will copy this. Minimum of 1 is already there. So minimum of 1. I am going to copy this. Control C. Again come to this formula. Click F2 on your keyboard and Control V to paste. Comma. So we have included this one. I will delete this. Now I will click F2. Select this. Control C. Then come back to this formula. Add one comma over here, paste. See, we are making it separate by using comma. Okay, now I will copy this one, copy, again come to here, add one comma and Control V for the paste. So it is actually taking the minimum of all, so it is coming 0.51, so we can delete it. Okay, so this is Kb has been calculated. Okay. Now we will calculate this V and PB. Bearing capacity V dPb is equal to, let's take the formula. What is it? 2.5 times of Kb into D is dia of bolt, which is 16 mm, into thickness of plate, which is 5 mm, into Fu of plate. Here is Fu of plate. So this one. Now this much is coming. Now this should be divided by what? 1.25 gamma MB, then divide by 1.25, so it is coming 33,000 Newton. So what we are going to do is divide it by 1000, so the value will come in kilonewton. So this is the bearing capacity. Okay, now what I am going to do is I will delete this, or I will just keep it aside because I don't want to put this in my formula. Here shear capacity of the bolt is VDPB, this kilonewton. Select from here to here and then come to top part of this selection. Your arrow must change like this, move arrow. Okay, now I will select this, I will move it to somewhere here. Okay, similarly I will move this to here and I will move this to here. I don't need this. Okay, so we have calculated actually shear capacity 28.97 and the bearing capacity is coming 33.5. So we will take the minimum of this. So bolt capacity for shear force is equal to minimum of this two. So it is 28.97 kilonewton. Okay, now number of bolts required is equal to how much load is coming, 11.04, divide by what is the capacity of bolt, 28.97. So number of bolts required is only 0.38 NOS. So number of bolt provided is equal to ceiling comma 1 NOS. Okay, so we can use 12 mm dia bolt. So still one bolt is required only. And for structure we never go below 12 mm. Just for showing you, if I am giving 6 mm dia bolt, then 3 bolts are required. But in structure we never go below 12 mm dia bolt. Okay, the required number of bolt is 1. We can give a final statement here. Provide 12 dia 1 numbers of bolt of grade 4.6. If you want to make this cell also automatic, then what you can do is just give equal to sign and put double quote, and we want this cell to be changed automatically. So what I'm going to do is double quote, double and in between this and put your cell number. It is 12 mm dia. Similarly double quote, double and here I will give this one cell number, and for this also, and your grade should be 4.6. so this, now this will change as these values. Now if I am giving 5.6, it will change to 5.6 and your entire calculation will change. Okay, so right now I am giving 4.6. so this way you can make an automated calculation. Okay, and see, if I am making page view, then all pages are visible. So I want to make only this page to be printed. So what I am going to do is I will go to page layout, and here I will choose set print area. Okay, now only this much part will be printed if you will do printing part. Okay, you can make bold over here. Okay, so one bolt is sufficient. You can add factor of safety also, but I don't think so it is required. But always keep factor of safety 20 mm and above for the bolts. So if you want to add factor of safety, what you can do is just move it here, and factor of safety FOS is equal to capacity of the bolt into number of bolt divided by total load will give you factor. So factor is coming how much, 1.4. and if you want to check the utilization, then utilization is inverse of this FOS. If you want to calculate utilization, then it will be inverse of that. So total load divided by capacity, total capacity is this into number of volts whatever you are providing. So it is 0.67. Some people used to show in FOS, some people use utilization, whatever you want, but if you are using FOS, then it should be more than 1.2 for the volts, and if you are using utilization, then it should be less than 0.8. I mean the total utilization of the volts should not be more than 80%. Okay, but I don't want to show these things in my calculation, so I will keep it aside. I will just keep it here. Okay, now I want to make same calculation for my diagonal member, right? So what I'm going to do is I will select from this cell, hold shift button and select anywhere here. Now I have selected everything. Control C to copy, click on Control V, and I will click on Control V to paste. Now here I will change design of diagonal member connection, diagonal bracing connection. Now we need to check whatever forces are coming. Now I will add one more sheet from here, sheet 2, and we'll come to our model and select all diagonal bracing. The most simplest way to select the diagonal bracing is we will go to select tab and then click on this, select parallel to X, select parallel to Y, and then select parallel to Z. Now see, these are based on the global axis, and diagonal member does not fall any of these axis, so the diagonal members are not selected and rest all members are selected. So we can inverse this. So this is one of the fastest way to select any diagonal member. So it has been selected. Now again I will go to results, reports, beam end forces, axial force here showed by axial force, loading, click this button, select only 201 to 204 holding shift button with the help of left click of your mouse, then select all the loads and say OK. Okay, now again so you can see 16 kilonewton is the maximum load it is coming. Select this, Control C, come to C2 and Control V to paste. Again we are going to copy these two things from your previous sheet 1 and paste it over here. As I have explained, it is taking maximum of Y and Z for this term, and for this term it is taking axial load. Okay, so I will double click on this small square box at the right bottom, so it will be applied to all. Now I will click over here, holding Control and Shift button, click on right arrow, then holding Control and Shift button, click on bottom arrow. So it will select everything. Come to home and select all. Make border. I can wrap this so it will be good to look. Now I will select top row, come to short filter and apply a filter. Now here I will apply a filter from largest to smallest, so maximum value is coming 16.94. Now again I will copy this, Control C, come to connection design, and here we are simply going to paste. Maximum resultant force is coming 16.94. Now we can see two numbers of 12 mm dia bolts are required. So with this we are done with our mathematical part of design. With this much of knowledge you can design any simple connection. Now I am going to give you some additional knowledge which will make you a good designer. But before that, one question to you is, what features make you a good designer, or who is a good designer? Please pause the video and give your opinion in the comment box. I think for a good design engineer one must have to follow three things. First is safety, second is ease of construction, and third is economy of the structure. First part is safety, which we have already covered in this calculation. we have followed the code. We also have given some additional safety in this design. As we have seen in our calculation that we are assuming the material factor, we are assuming the load factor, and over that we are giving additional 20% of safety from our side. So we have covered this factor of safety part. Second part is ease of construction. If we will give 2 bolts, then the fabrication work will increase and it will take more time to drill 2 holes rather than 1. So we will increase the diameter of bolt to 16 mm and provide single bolt instead of 2. So here we will change the diameter from 12 to 16. Now we can see number of bolt required is only 1. So number of hole required will also be 1. So fabrication work is reduced because instead of 2, now fabricator have to drill only single hole for each connection. Now let's come back to horizontal bracing connection. For horizontal bracing we had provided 12 mm diameter bolt, and for diagonal bracing we are providing 16 mm dia bolt. Here you can see this. This will create variety of bolts and holes as well. If we are giving 2 type of bolts, then fabricator need to keep in mind that 2 type of holes need to be drilled, and procurement guy have to procure 2 type of bolts. So for the ease of construction we will make this also 16 mm dia bolt. So I am going to make this 12 mm as 16 mm. So now we are using only 16 mm dia bolt for both type of connection. Now the variety of bolt is reduced. Instead of giving 12 mm dia and 16 mm dia 2 type of bolts, we are giving only 16 mm dia bolt. So for ease of construction we can make this also 16 mm dia bolt. So there is only one type of bolt which makes the work easy. Third part is economy. Now one can say we can provide 12 mm dia bolt because the 12 mm dia bolt is safe and it is cheaper than 16 mm dia bolt. Yes, it is true, but keeping less variety of bolts reduce the confusion on the site and increase the speed of construction. And price difference in 12 mm dia bolt and 16 mm dia bolt is not much. Again, if the quantity of the tower is used like more than 500 or even more than 100, and towers are going to be manufactured in automated factory, then you can go for 12 mm dia bolt. But for the time being I will suggest to go with 16 mm dia bolt. So with this we have completed our design with safety, ease of construction and economy. I hope you learned something new in this video. If you like the content, kindly subscribe our channel and like our video. It takes time and efforts to make such knowledgeable video. Therefore please share this content with your friend and help us to grow. Thank you for watching this. We will meet you in the next video. Bye bye.